All right.
What your mouth say?
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, bass players, Detroit bass players, and bass players extraordinaires, and guitar players, and drummers, and everybody who play instrument, even saxophone players. Welcome to the basement. Once again, we got with us one of our brothers that we did an interview a couple of times with, but he finally made it to the basement. Tell us your name, bro.
JERVONNY JV Collier.
JERVONNY JV Collier, man. Welcome back home to Detroit, brother.
Good to be home. It's cold though.
I know. Now,
Wait a minute, change your mind.
Now, also, we're just gonna do a quick interview with him since he's in Detroit, and we'd like to thank you for hanging out with us, bro. And to assist on this interview, we got some other special bass players and also BASSmint alumni. We got none other than Mr. William Pope.
Thank you so much. Hey.
And
Mike Rich.
Mike Rich. And we also have a special guest in the house today. Could you tell us his name?
Ron Couts, HMR Guitars.
HMR Guitars, a bass, guitar, lutheran. You build anything else besides basses and guitars?
You name it.
Whatever you want.
Motorcycle,
Custom furniture, you name it.
All kinds of stuff floating around the house.
You got it.
Okay, well, we're going to definitely have to do an interview with you. And, of course, we in the basement of none other than Mr. Reginald Canty, our gracious host.
I see.
Let us do all of these interviews all the time, man. Thank you once again. In the basement, I'm going to have to get an intro, change the intro these episodes. And this is the first episode of season 2.
Do you know JERVONNY?
We're gonna have to change the intro up and put some, just a little, some extra.
Yeah,
We're gonna try something, but man, thanks for hanging out with us. Back home in Detroit. Last time I saw you personally was over in Canada. You couldn't even, right across the water, you couldn't even get home, man.
Couldn't come across the border.
When was the last time you've been back home to Detroit?
I haven't been home. Well, actually, I came home in September. My dad was having an operation, so I came home then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Serious business there.
Yeah.
Before that,
it's been a year before that. So I try to get home once a year, but most of the time, it's quick in and quick out.
Good. Well, again, welcome back to the crib, and one of our legendary Detroit bass players been doing this for. He been doing it on the big pro level for a long time. In a minute, we're gonna start naming off some of this.
No, we don't need that.
I know, because it's gonna take all day. The list is long.
You gotta run credits on that one.
That's what you gotta
do. But what brings you back home to Detroit this time, 2013?
Did a show down at Cobo Hall with Bruce Hornsby. You call it a show. We only played 3 minutes and 20 seconds for Mercedes. And then they were debuting their new E-Class. And so they hired us to come in and be a part of that.
Okay, so you came all the way to Detroit to play for 3 minutes?
I came all the way to Detroit to play for 3 minutes, man.
Isn't that beautiful, man?
I love that beautiful thing.
You said it. When I looked at it, I went, oh, wow, cool. I love Mercedes.
Every day. All day, every day.
Yeah.
So that's the mail money.
Yeah, that's the mailbox money, exactly.
So that's
better than 3 one-nighters in a row.
okay. So that was for the now. You say the auto show. Now I'm gonna date this interview right here. Today is January 15th, 2013. Again, like I said, first episode of season 2. When the auto show don't start till next week or something.
Yeah, that's right. This was press week. So this was only this was just to debut the cars. This was just for press and whatever celebrities they had show up. But it won't open the doors to the general public until Saturday.
Okay, that's the and
I'll be there.
You be playing at the regular auto show, right?
Saturday, I'll be there.
I wish I was.
I'm in big shoes.
Oh, please.
Right there.
So we got two Detroit bass players, the big boys doing the auto show. Is it called the North American Auto Show? Or
North
North
American.
American.
they don't call it Detroit Auto Show.
Not anymore. It used to be.
They used to.
It used to be. Yeah.
You know, but we still Detroit.
But I'm
Yeah,
old
yeah.
enough to where I can still call it Detroit.
Right, exactly. And this is still, it's still the Motor City,
Come
even
on, man.
even though we ain't doing it like we used
It's
to.
always gonna be.
It's-
always gonna be.
yeah, it's the Motor City.
They set it down.
That's
And did you see Lee Iacocca or any?
No, I saw Jesse Jackson though. I talked to Jesse for a minute.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
I think he was down there. I don't know what he was doing, but yeah.
But he was there.
He was there.
He's probably checking out a new Mercedes.
I think look, listen at the E-Class. Yeah.
The E-Class, that might have been Jesse driving one around, yeah.
Okay, man. So, for those who didn't get to see the other interviews we did with you, and I recommend folks to go back and look at them, even though I might ask some of the same questions. For those who didn't see those, my first question I always like to ask people is, and when did you start playing the bass, and why? Why? Because I'm fascinated by the bass guitar. Why? When? Why? You know?
Well, I think on the first interview I told you I started playing, I probably started playing the bass somewhere around 12 or 13 after I started playing trombone. I was playing trombone in elementary school, and I couldn't get a date playing trombone. So I started playing bass so I could get a date. Nobody wanted to kiss
You
trombone
can get the
lips.
chicks with the
Yeah, that valve juice in your mouth. So that's how I first started, you know.
And plus, bass is cool anyway.
And then I just fell in love with it, and fell in love with music, and fell in it, and then it was just on from there.
Do you recall what your first bass was?
Oh yeah, my dad. There used to be a place in Detroit, downtown Detroit, called Lafayette Electronics.
Okay.
And they had a little Fender Precision copy and a very small little amp. And my dad bought me once he knew I was serious. I think the whole rig cost under $100, and he went and bought me a little Lafayette Electronics fake Precision and a little amplifier, and that was my first rig.
And then who did you start playing with? How did you get exposed to other musicians?
Well, it seemed in my neighborhood. I grew up on the west side of Detroit, between bordering Wyoming, Joy Road, Tireman, and Livernois, and there were just an amazing amount of musicians there, and that was also close to Northwestern. I could always walk over to Northwestern and play or see music. Northwestern High School, which was a bunch of Ben Atkins, Ray Parker Jr., and they all came from that Northwestern neighborhood. So it seemed like there were musicians in every household playing. And so you met one guy and they would introduce you to the next. And like this basement roundtable, we would meet at houses, all these bass players, and sit around and try to learn the new Larry Graham lick or the new Bootsy lick, or somebody learned Stevie's synth line and showed it to everyone else.
Wow.
And that's how I started meeting a lot of different musicians at first.
Okay, and when did you get that first gig with a guitar player and a drummer, or the first practices? Did y'all do the outside gigs? Like when I was growing up, I grew up in the late '60s, early '70s. It was cats kicking in the backyard, or
In the garage.
yeah, or you always heard something.
Yep,
You know,
always,
when did you get that first gig?
Well, the first gig I ever had was two guys from my school who went to my school, piano player. They both played piano. We were all so small at the time and still learning that they couldn't cover the whole piano. So one would play the high side and one would play the low side.
Oh, wow.
And then we had a drummer in the band.
Oh, so they played one piano.
They played one piano. And then we had a drummer in the band.
That's cool.
And my brother played guitar, and I played bass, and we would play at their church. That was our one gig a year for a few years, and we only had one song that we knew, and that was Shaft. And we would play it every time. We played Shaft, and that's how. And so that was the first real gig I ever did.
That's
with
awesome.
a guitar player and
And
drum.
now that's strange because that's what made me want to play.
It's playing.
I went to the show, seen Shaft, came back, and said that's what I want to do.
See,
And it's weird now.
Wow.
Now,
and y'all was playing this.
as a bass player, the only instrument I hear in the song by Shaft, the song
Is the guitar.
Shaft, is the guitar. Y'all didn't have a guitar player? Y'all still
Yeah, my brother played guitar, so he was playing guitar, and you know when I listen to it, the prominent instruments, the hi-hat, the guitar, the piano, doubling the bass, boom, do, dum, dum, and the bass when it gets to bagadoo,
Yeah.
bagadoo, yeah, exactly. So that was exciting to me to be able to play Shaft. It took me forever to learn.
Yeah, but that groove, didn't it?
Yeah,
It was
that groove did.
yeah.
Yeah.
I bet you got some kisses after that.
Oh, no, it didn't work. Playing it didn't work until later on.
Okay, so you got to get through the gig at church. Then, how did you fall off into actually playing for a living?
Well, what happened? I was a very good trombone player, classically trained trombone player at the time, and so I was playing when I was in junior high school. My elementary teacher, who first started me out, he made sure that I had great instruments, great trombones. He would always give me a new trombone every 3 years or so. And so when I was in junior high, I was playing for 3 high schools also. And on Saturdays, I would go down to Cass Tech. They had what they called All City Band on Saturdays, All City Orchestra. Yeah. And it would be all these kids from across the suburbs in Detroit and suburbs, and you come in every Saturday, and your chair was never safe. So every Saturday, if somebody, like I was usually first or second chair, as long as I was on top of the music, and somebody would challenge you. So it'd be like 5 trombone players in the orchestra. Must have been 70, 75 kids. And it was strings. It was a great orchestra. But by doing all of that, I also was being exposed to a lot of teachers. And these teachers, a lot of them turned out to be musicians that played on Motown and played on records. They would either played horns or percussion or xylophones or something.
You want to throw some names out there?
I started meeting the Harold McKinney's, the Marcus Belgraves. Marcus was a big, Harold McKinney and Marcus, they were big boosters of mine. I started meeting the Earl Van Dykes. I started meeting Eddie Willis, all of these guys. And 1 year in 1972, I think it was, maybe 73, I get a call saying, hey, there's a session at United Sound, the old United Sound. And I walk in, and there's the Funk Brothers. There's Rudy Robinson, Earl Van Dyke, Eddie Willis, and Earl Jones. Earl Jones was on drums, I think. And as I'm pushing the door open, I hear a voice say, who's playing bass? And I'm scared because I don't even have a driver's license. My dad had to drop me off. And so as I'm pushing the door open, and somebody says, who's playing bass on this session? And I hear somebody else say, I don't know. I'm not going to direct quote it because it's pretty wild. But he said, I don't know, but I hope it's not the cat we had last night. And that was just as the door was going open, and I almost turned around and ran out.
Wow.
But I didn't. Something said, go through the door. And as I did, I think Earl said, oh, I know him. He's cool. It's going to be all right. And we sat down.
Yeah.
But I'd never been in a recording studio. I'd never been in a thing like that. So we sit down, and they came out, and back then every note was written because they were trying to write like James Jamerson played. So the arrangers wrote every note. There was no such thing as here's a chord, in the bass chair. And also on the chart they would always have on the charts 4 Fender bass. So that meant
you had to play a Fender bass.
you had to play a Fender bass. I don't care what your bass was, I don't care how good it sounded. If it wasn't Fender, they would come up with, that's not a Fender bass.
Wow.
And they wouldn't let you play today if you didn't have a Fender back then. So
That's strict.
I heard about
it's
that.
great. And so we recorded that day a whole album in 3 hours.
Wow.
Now, who was the album for?
I have no idea. it was I think we did 15 songs.
Mm-hmm.
And the first song, they would give you the chart. Now remember, I'm a rookie, so I don't really know the whole hip musician lingo.
Right.
I don't know the chart lingo. I don't know any of that. So the arranger comes, he stands in the middle, and he says, "All right, everybody see the road map." I'm from a classically trained thing. You didn't say road map.
Yeah.
You either said form or the chart just read all the way down. So I'm looking at stuff and hearing stuff new that I'd never heard before, and I'm going, in my mind, I'm going, road map. What the heck is a road map? I don't see the road map, but I'm keeping my mouth shut. And he goes, okay. And he goes, all right, here we go. And they count off the song. And that was it. And I remember playing the first song, and about 16, 20 bars into it, I screwed up and made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And they came out and said, that's your one mistake for today.
Wow. For today.
For today.
Wow.
How much pressure is that?
And then from that point on, talking about concentrating and sweating, you know, and I just, and I would sit and I would be really quiet and I'd listen to them. You know, they would talk and they would joke and they would do their thing. And I would just take mental notes. And then when it was over, they were like really great. And then all of a sudden, they just kept calling from that point on.
And that brings us up to today. From that moment there to today, this guy has currently that I know of, he's playing with Pointer Sisters. He's currently playing with the Fifth Dimension, Bruce Hornsby. Who else you currently play with?
Oh man, well, anybody that calls. I've had calls to do everything from Larry Carlton. I've played with Boney James. I've played with Norman Brown. I've played with. I just recorded on the new. What's her name? Got to Be Real. Cheryl Lynn album.
Really? She got a new one.
Oh man, it's
that
funky
gonna
too.
be good.
Oh,
I
she
know it's
bad.
gonna be
She
good.
funky. She
Oh,
writing
yeah.
and recording it. Oh, dude.
So she must love Detroit bass players
She
because
will not go on the road, and I can say this. Cheryl loves Detroit musicians. That's her thing.
Al Turner does some work with her
Yes.
overseas.
Al is on the same CD.
Yeah,
Yeah.
another Detroit bass player. And backing up, I mean, Dramatics, Temptations.
Gladys Knight and the Pips, Frankie Valli.
And that's
goes on.
and like I
List
said,
goes on.
the list goes on and on and on and on to the break of dawn.
To the break of dawn.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
His list.
Oh, no.
But and that's cool, man. That for you to, I mean, sometimes it seems like it's impossible to keep getting the gigs and they keep coming. We talked about that before, but that's pretty cool, man. That you still working. What you got planned? What's coming up for you? What else you doing?
For me, I mean, I think this year for me, I'm really trying to get into orchestration more, and just I've been doing it for the past couple of years, and trying to get my orchestration chops and my confidence in it to where I want to try. Back in the '80s, a friend of mine, we tried to get into writing for television and writing for movies. Mm-hmm. And a big strike came in just as we were trying to get in the door, and he was, you know, we were right there. We did an episode of the Colbys, which was a runoff from, I think, Dynasty or something like that, and we were just getting in the door with Aaron Spelling back then, and he was you know, really into what we were doing.
Cool.
But the big strike came in and knocked us out. I think that it almost was a year of this writer strike. So we want to try to get back into that and do that. I want to try to get into doing that. I want to try to get into scoring. You know, the past couple of years I've been lucky enough to have some orchestration stuff played, and it sounded great. You know, it was fun. It was a lot of fun to do. So I want to try to get into that, and of course the gigging stuff, man. People are still calling, and I'm trying to, you know, that's my bread and butter.
All right, any current orchestrations going on?
Well, you know, there's always some current stuff going on. You know, I've been lucky enough to be writing for a couple of TV shows, and you know, and
Well, TV shows like what? Do I? Do I gotta edit this?
Yeah, you gotta edit this one. No, I can't put that one out. I can't put that one out. But yeah, I've been lucky enough.
But it's TV show.
It is a TV show. I just can't put that one out.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I want to do the same thing we just talked about at the beginning of your career to what's current, and then we talked about your first base. And what is this monstrosity that you got in your hand right here, man?
This is a Ken Smith CR model, which was Chuck Rainey. This Chuck Rainey at one point was, I mean, he might still be, I don't know, but I bought this one in the late '80s, and it's a, you know, it's a beast of a bass. It plays good. It's beat up because I love playing it. It's played on a lot of records. It's played on a lot of shows, and it you know, it's one of my favorite instruments as far as being able to play.
Show the back of it. That's what you need.
And it's not a neck through on my 6 strings. I like bolt on.
Bolt on meaning the 4 screws,
the 4
the
screws
necks,
that connect the neck to the body.
Yeah.
Bolt-on gives you more punch, and especially you need it with 6 strings, because it seems that what I found in most 6 strings, they got a softer sound, a more mellow sound, a more mellow feel. And when you're doing certain pop gigs, you gotta do a lot of you know, I like punch on the stuff, or pop dates. So this is a good instrument for that. Also, you know, you mentioned Ron, who is an amazing bass builder, and as most of us know, I think we all have one of his basses down here, and he built me a incredible 70s jazz inspired HMR guitar that I really love, and I use on a lot of special things, especially when it's television or somebody is filming. You know, I usually use his bass because it's the most beautiful bass I got in my collection, and it sounds great and plays well. So, you know, and I also want to just say one thing about, you know, if I can. I got into a discussion. A friend of mine, maybe some of you know him, a great bass player that plays with Vanessa Williams.
Al Caldwell.
Yeah.
So Al on his has been we've been discussing extended range basses and some attitudes towards extended range
He
basses.
got some monsters.
He's got an 11 string that's just off the chain. And
Think that high.
and people ask me a lot why I play extended range basses a lot. And the purpose of playing it. In fact, on Detroit Bass Player page, I think there was a guy a couple of maybe a month ago asking about this.
Big discussion about it.
Big discussion about it. I played this because I was inspired by Anthony Jackson. I was inspired by John Patitucci. I was inspired also by the fact when I looked at it, reading music, sometimes you have to make these incredible jumps in range.
Right.
I looked at the 6 and said, if I can cut down how far I have to jump while I'm reading, that's going to make me a more accurate reader. That's going to help me, especially if you're sight reading something. I've gone into situations where I had to sight read a whole show because a bass player got sick and couldn't make it. This allows me to be able to cover the chart without taking my eyes off the music. That's one of the things. And the attitude of towards extended range basses should not be, or any instrument should not be limited to what it used to be. It should be what it can be. What can you and your imagination make it do?
Right.
And that's any instrument.
Yeah.
One string or seven. You know, especially in what we do as bass players. Because people, well, you know, I remember as a young bassist, a piano player called me to do a gig, and he didn't have charts, so I started asking what chord is this? What chord is that? What do you want to know the chord for? Just play the bottom. Well, that was the attitude back in the day.
Yeah.
Also, the attitude back in the day when I started playing was, you don't play bass. Because bass is the upright.
Well, I've had,
A lot of upright places used to say, you're not playing bass.
Right.
Exactly.
You're playing a guitar.
That's how they treat the sixth string and above
Exactly.
currently. Yeah.
So we have to change that attitude, and all of it is viable, and all of it can serve a purpose. But don't get stuck with the attitude that because it was 4 strings originally, anything else is you know, if you can groove on the 4 string, you can groove on the 6. If you can solo on the 4 string, you can solo on the 6. That's the way it should be. So I just wanted to address that.
Okay, well, how many basses do you have?
I have 50 plus basses.
See, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Why? Why?
Yeah.
And why?
Wow. Where do you keep your car at?
I can't afford the string.
Well, see, and here's the thing. When I get called for a session, well, especially back in the 80s, when you used to go to a session in LA back in the 80s, you'd walk in and it looked like a music store. You know, Cats had cartage companies. Nobody brought their own gear because you had so much. You never knew what a producer was going to ask you for. Well, now in the age of things being digital and a lot of the sounds and stuff you can get, you know, a lot of keyboard stuff, you know, everybody's rigs have cut down. But you never knew if somebody wanted you to play a Fender, if somebody loved the sound of Ken, if somebody loved the sound of Tobias back in the day, or Music Man. So you had to always come with and have an instrument to, you know, to be able to do the job. I had to have 2 fretlesses. I used to bring a Gibson fretless and a Fender fretless, you know.
Okay.
So because they sounded different. Gibson Ripper sounded different than, and the fretless at one point only was a precision.
Yeah.
And
what
then
was that teardrop you was telling me about?
yeah, exactly.
I was like, that stuff that was different in itself.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then the Ripper sounded different than the Precision, and then Fender started making the Jazz fretless, so that sounded different. So you had, if you were going to work as a session player, you had to have all this gear, and then as you start getting endorsements and people start giving you stuff, you know, modulus guitars with the graphite necks sound different. So I've endorsed modulus, so I had those, and so you get all of this stuff, and each instrument has a different sound. Each instrument became a different purpose. So I started, and then you start going, okay, I need a baritone bass. So you make one a baritone bass. So it's not. So you just start collecting.
Okay, so and what he means by baritone bass is you can have the same body, and you can string any gauges on there you want. Unless you start getting real super thick, then you might have to play. Shade some of the I don't even want to say it, you know what I'm saying, but baritone meaning
you're taking the bass up an octave and you're tuning it using lighter gauge strings so that it has a different sound and or you know, different range, and so you know, you start experimenting with those things, and it all, you'd be surprised at how many sessions. Like I've done sessions for Bruce where I've used basses and I'm playing the funky guitar part, the picking line.
Okay. Really?
Most people don't even know that it's the bass that's playing the funky picking line. I've done that on a lot of different sessions where I'm playing the funky the picking line.
Yeah, didn't somebody tell me that once before about the guitar line and money? Was
Yeah,
bass?
that's the bass.
Bass.
That's a
Anthony Jackson.
That's a 6-string
And that was
bass.
Anthony Jackson, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
6-string bass.
He's playing it with a pick.
That's his trademark right
Yeah,
there.
and he co-wrote the tune.
Yeah, and I never knew that for years and years. Till I heard him do an interview say, yeah, when I did this, I'm like, you're kidding.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have played that. We let the guitar player play that.
Yeah, really.
I would have said, this is mine, bro.
Well, if you listen to it, it's double. It's double track. It's an overdub part.
Oh, okay.
But and that's but yeah, he played that line, and so when when you go into a session, if you can add something, if you hear something, and you have the instruments to cover what you do, then hey man, I hear this, okay, and then that became a thing with Bruce's band. There are a couple of records where I'm playing a banjo-like strumming line all through the tune, and people would think it's a banjo, or but if I didn't have an extended range instrument or a different range on the instrument, never would be able to do it.
Right. Okay, so now when you travel currently, you just take 1 or 2 or all 50 of them with you?
When we're on tour, when I go on tour and there's a tour bus and a truck for the gear, I'll take 2 to 5 instruments, depending on how long the tour is going to be.
And who you playing with?
And well, it doesn't matter as long as it's a long tour.
Okay.
If I'm on a tour that's longer than a month and I'm playing, and I'm playing one gig and we're flying, I have a gig bag. I have a couple of double gig bags that I'll put. I might take 2 basses in a double gig bag, and then if it's like what I just did 2 weeks around Florida, I take 1 bass.
Right. Okay. When you doing all of these travelings and changing climates, you just left Florida. I'm sure the weather was quite different than it was here, and I'm thinking that these climate changes, altitude changes, and stuff might change the settings of your bass. Do they?
Well, it depends on the bass you carry. If I carry my Fender, the neck moves incredible. My HMR, the neck doesn't move because it's a harder wood. With this, it doesn't move because there's a double truss rod. So it holds. This is pretty, and that's one of the reasons that I fly with this one a lot more, is that it seems to be impervious to the altitude and humidity changes and climate changes. It stays like a rock.
I got a question for you. When you fly, do you loosen your strings when you get on the plane?
Only if I go under.
Oh.
I don't loosen my strings on the top. I think, I know that they say to do that.
Yeah,
the airlines say
yeah.
it. But I think I find that if I just leave it when it's in the cabin, it's cool.
Okay.
If it goes under, where I know it gets really cold, cold and stuff, then I will loosen it.
Okay.
Right, and I don't know if you saw the big debate on what to do when you traveling with your bass. We had a big debate on. Some people say, "Hey, no, you don't have to do that," and some people say, "Yeah, you do." About loosening the strings during air travel.
Yeah, I like I said, if it goes in the cabin with me and I put it in an overhead, I don't find that I have to.
I did that once, and the neck back bowed so bad.
Really?
Yeah, and in fact, when we had to do the gig, I had to push the neck forward to play it.
To stay in tune?
Yeah, to stay without
on
buzzing.
Did you loosen the strings?
I had loosened the strings, and the neck moved. It went this way, so
Right.
I had to play where I had to push forward and try to pull. Yeah. So that's why I asked, because I don't do that no more.
No, man. When I'm carrying it, it's usually tuned up.
Okay, now say you had one of the other basses that didn't stay put. Would you adjust it yourself, or do you need a bass tech? Because I'm available.
I have a bass tech, and I don't even let them tune my basses. I tune my own stuff. They can set up the amp, and then I carry and tune and change my strings. When it comes to doing the
setups,
neck and setup,
truss rod adjustments.
any of that, I do it. I know where I like my setup to be. I know how I like my setup to be. I know what feels good to me. So I carry tools to be able to do any and everything. I will, and with apps, you can get an app for your iPhone. You can actually get a strobe tuner.
Wow. Really?
On your iPhone. There's a strobe tuner app, and that allows you to even adjust it in the small, intonation in the smallest increments.
Wow.
And so I will adjust and do my thing on my own.
Okay, that's awesome, man. Well, since he ain't gonna hire me, I want to know if anybody else got any questions for him.
I actually do. You know me. I always got a question. What is your common amp? What do you like to use as your foundation amp?
Well, now I'm using the Gallagher Kruger MB500, and I love this thing. I can take it's. I don't even know that it's 5 pounds. I put it in the pouch of my bag. And I take it on the road when I want to take, when I know that wherever I'm going, it's not going to be cool. Mm-hmm. I can carry this amp with me, and it has everything I look for. I also have a GK 1001 RB, so and that rides in the rack, and I don't touch that because it's heavy. I'm too old for that. I'm too old for that. I use when I'm at home. I use an Epiphany 12. I bought it
Stop. He just got all the good stuff.
Oh man, I bought it in.
He got all the goodies.
I think I bought that in mid '90s, mid '90s. And it's a really great thing. Very lightweight. I have a 15 and a 412 that I use when I'm out on the road with Gallagher and Kruger. I've got SWR, I've got David Eaton, I've got PV stuff I used to endorse. I've got Mark Bass. I've got what else is in there? I don't know.
I've
got 2 garages full of
I was about to say, you have a museum is what you have.
In your garage and running around.
I got
50 bases over here, 50 amps over there.
Yeah, I got 2 garages full of stuff, and a lot of it, it's just stuff you collect over the years. I can't seem to let it go. I mean, Wally should. Well, some of it, at some point though, for me, I have it to where I'm donating my gear to schools.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
or Michael. Well, I'm donating to schools.
You can donate. This is a school, all right?
Because especially with the current financial situations of our schools and taking the arts away, I think we need to give some of that back, and so that's the plan.
That's
okay, that's cool. Well, man, I ain't want to keep you, man. you know how I am. I don't like keeping people, but I always like learning. And for you youngsters or oldsters, just wanting to hit that road. This man has been since the late '70s, been hitting that road in studio. 79
for roads.
So let's add this up. That's about 30-some years, and you not tired of sleeping out of the suitcase yet?
Man, I love traveling. It's real cool, man. You get to visit places like obviously after doing it for 30 years, there are a lot of places I've been doubling, tripling, and quadrupling back on. Right. But just recently, just in Florida, I went to the Florida Keys, and I'd never been to the Florida Keys, or you still get to go to places. I was in Holland in December. And I've been to Amsterdam many times, but I hadn't been to this city, Utrecht, which was just very beautiful. So you still get to see some places you haven't been.
And you enjoy this?
I love it.
I find that you actually, besides being the musician, you actually have to be built for travel. Because I get on the airplane, it's like, I'm finished. I don't even want to do what I came to do. You know what I'm saying? Cause I ain't built for travel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's fun for me, and the other side is like I got a chance, like this thing that I did with the Pointer Sisters, this Max Prom thing. There was a house band. I got a chance to meet some amazing musicians, man. There's a guitar player that just absolutely read everything. I think, you know, it was a big orchestra, about 45-piece orchestra. I think he read everybody's charts and played everything. He was that awesome. This guy knocked me out. And if you take a look at the video or pull it up, it's the Pointer Sisters Max Proms. And there's video on it, and you'll see me.
P-R-O-M? Prom?
P-R-O-M, yeah. M-A-X-X, Max Prom. And you'll see me, because I sat the whole show while the orchestra would play behind other acts, and I just watched this guy, man, and he is just an absolute beast. So I exchanged numbers, and you know, we've been exchanging, you know, just talking to each other, and so I love that part of traveling. Is really great, meeting other musicians and seeing cats who can play. I mean, it kills you.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Anybody else? Y'all got any more questions for this fine bassist?
I think we gotta let him go home now.
I don't think he's going home.
I'm not going home.
Yeah,
You know, there's a memorial for a great bass player and a guy I knew, Rod Hicks, and so I'm gonna go down to Burt's and kind of just you know, kind of support that tonight.
That works.
Right, yeah. Today was his funeral. I never got to meet him, but they say he influenced a lot of
people. That's right.
a lot of bass players, and so yeah, I'm gonna go hang out. They having a memorial jam.
People who was influencing us.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go hang out. Take the camera. The funeral was today, but I'm gonna take the camera and
Go down.
and you know, just get some footage, man. That's what I like to do. Get footage and stuff.
Support, baby.
And with that said, man, I want to thank you again for hanging out with one of the my favorite Detroit bass players on this episode of Detroit bass players
On this episode.
in the basement.
It's
Yes.
episode 10 now.
So man, could you just play us something out, man? Just
man.
something.
Let me see what I got.
Ladies and gentlemen, Detroit bass player Mr. JERVONNY J.V. Collier, keep playing. J.V. Collier.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's all I got, man.
Hey, you know what? You got to whip up one of them chicks because.
He's still rolling.